54th episode of the Have Aloha Will Travel podcast. We have cleared the 1 year mark. We've just leaped past it.
This is our second year.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant like 1 full year, and then now we're into our second year.
No, we are. I think we're going into our third year. I'm not kidding.
No.
Think about it. 53, and we do one every other week.
Oh no,
Kevin,
this is
we've
a
been
passage
doing
of
this for
time.
2 years now.
Oh, okay. Well, that was unexpected. What is expected is that we have Kevin Yim on the podcast. Kevin Yim.
Yay!
Aloha.
Hello.
Kevin Yim, aside from sharing my first name, Kevin, the best name, he is the vice president of marketing at Zippys. He's previously led marketing teams at Hawaiian Airlines and the Bank of Hawaii. He's been around the marketing scene here in Hawaii, and we're so excited to have him on the podcast. Oh, I almost forgot to do our intros. I'm Kevin Allen, with me as always.
Catherine Fox.
I was just so
We're
excited
with
to talk to
Hawaii
Kevin.
Magazine. I know. So Kevin made a point to point out that this Kevin, whoever he is in this Zoom chat, that this is the first time we've had a guest named Kevin
On the podcast.
On the podcast.
And it's the first time we've ever had anyone from Zippys, which is exciting as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Kevin.
Although it's not the first time we've had anybody who loves Zippys on the podcast because, well,
I was going to get into this later. Kevin, I'm a huge fan of your work. Zippys, it's fantastic. My favorite diner, Like Drive-In, had recently closed down. So Zippys is kind of the next best. I mean,
Oh, Kevin!
It is now the best thing. You know, I had a favorite, but Zippy is the one on South Baratania. Is that the one, the sit-down one? The one where you can eat the 24/7 one? I think it's on South Baratania, or is that South King? Maybe it's South King. Yeah, it's South King. I go there all the time now. That's my new favorite joint, and I think a lot of local people feel similarly. It's Zippy is kind of some of the only 24-hour diners, and they have just such an extensive history here in Hawaii. And I was kind of hoping you could talk to us about that.
Wait, Kevin, the other Kevin, Allen, did you audition to be in a Zippys commercial once?
I don't want to bring that up.
Did you really?
I don't want to bring it up, because I didn't get the part or anything. I don't
Oh
want.
my God, did I reject you, Kevin?
I think you might have rejected me, but that's okay.
Sorry.
You work in that business, you get rejected a lot of times.
I think I know the real reason why I'm here. Is this how Kevin Allen is going to get his revenge on Kevin Yim?
Also, I wasn't going to bring this up, but my friend applied to your marketing department. Oh, yeah. or that. Yeah, but no, please, I'm sure a lot of our listeners know already. We got to stop going off topic. They know Zippys. They probably love Zippys, but if you could give us like a nice comprehensive rundown of the history of Zippys and kind of its impact here in Hawaii, that would be really awesome, Kevin.
Yeah, so, Zippys is now approaching its 55th year this year, 2021. So it started in 1966 by brothers Charlie and Francis Higa. And their idea at the time was to start someplace that served food fast. And around, just a couple years before they opened up the very first Zippys, the United States Postal Service had just introduced something called the zip code. And so therefore, they wanted to, it was known, zip code was fast, efficient, all the things they wanted their restaurant to be. So they kind of made a riff on zip code, and Zippys came into being. Its first location is the one that I work right next to. Our offices are right next to the McCully location. So that's the one on King Street, but further down from the one you were talking about earlier, Kevin. This is the one next to the Washington Intermediate School.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that was the first location. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So if you look at some old pictures of Zippys, you'll realize that the front end is what we all know today, the fast food counter. You kind of walk up. Back then, it was kind of open air, like a lot of different places where it wasn't an enclosed, air-conditioned space. But on the back side, if you look at the old pictures, it was wide open, and they used to call it the Simon Lanai.
Right.
And the Simon Lanai has now morphed into the sit-down dine-in restaurant experience that many of our locations also have in addition to the fast food counters up front. So, and of course, what do you think they served at the Simon Lanai? Simon.
Wonton.
So that was their first kind of foray into serving hot food, sit-down service was all Simon with terry beef stick, and eventually over time they grew the menu. Things that they did on the front side for the fast food counter would eventually migrate to the back. And really, this first location of at McCully here became a late night hangout. And as all of us know, many memories are made at Zippy's at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely.
Yep. And the Zippy's parking lot.
Yeah.
That is also another place that people, why do we do that?
People
we
congregate
in the Zippy's parking lot.
Yeah. That's where you go to talk story.
Is that a local thing?
It totally is.
Yeah.
I mean, so the way I put it is that Zippy's, there used to be a lot of talk about where's that third place? You have home, work, and the third place you're going to hang out. And Starbucks likes to call themselves the third place, right? And probably the truth in many parts of the U.S. mainland. For Hawaii, Zippy's. Zippy's is the third place.
Next stop.
There, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Next stop,
right
Zippy's.
The club or whatever, right? And
unless you're over 65, and then maybe it's McDonald's.
Yeah, we have those too.
That's also true. Yes.
Now, I once got kicked out of a Zippy's parking lot. In fact, the one right here. So
what?
Really?
You can't bring that up and not tell us the story.
We were just too loud. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Just you're in high school, you're doing stupid things.
You're doing stupid.
Eventually, the cops go, "Hey, be quiet, give noise complaint." So,
yeah, I think every local person has some memory tied to Zippy's in some way. You know what I mean? Oh, there's so many good memories, man.
I grew up. It's weird. I grew up kind of without a Zippy's. Growing up on the North Shore, the closest one for me was Waukee, which is that's kind of far,
That's pretty far.
So
yeah.
I never went to Zippy's until I got older, and then by then I was already making really bad decisions in my early adult life. And
perfect for Zippy's.
Next stop, Zippy's. Yeah, Zippy's has really become. It is like a local household name. Everyone knows Zippy's here. Why do you think it? I mean, why do you think it gained so much success and notoriety amongst like the local community? Like, what do you think? Because there were a lot of mom and pop diners at the time. What do you think really brought Zippy's to that next level?
I think a couple different things. I think first and foremost was consistency. The brothers were really big on making sure that all the food was consistent all the time. There was consistency of customer service, that you were greeted the same way all the time. And that goes a long way, because if you're there for breakfast one day and you get the same level of food that you get at 2 o'clock in the morning after the club, I mean, it says a lot about the operation itself. The brothers were just really great business people when they started up, and they had a lot of amazing relationships. They came from a family that actually did meat. They were meat producers. So I don't know if you've heard of Hugo Meat Market, which is no longer owned by the company, by the family, but that's where both Charlie and Francis got their start in the family business. And so they had a lot of connections with people through that meat market business. Connections they brought through with them to Zippy's. And it's just everybody knew them. They knew everybody. They treated everybody well. And so people just came back over and over again.
Do you know if there are dishes? I mean, like the Simon is a good example, but dishes that are still on the menu from when the restaurant launched 55 years ago or around that time. Like, what are some of the mainstays?
So yeah, if you're looking for the most historical dish on the menu, like you did some culinary anthropology on Zippy's, you'll find the terry beef plate is probably the closest thing
a classic.
To the classic very first thing. Besides the Simon, definitely the Simon is the number one kind of oldest dish on the menu. But then some of the dishes that you could come to associate with Zippy's didn't come around probably to the 70s.
Like the chili?
The chili was not on the original menu, believe it or not. But it did come out very closely thereafter. Not in 1966, but I need to double check on that date, but very closely to 1966, they started doing the chili. All the chili was made by Charlie in the restaurant. And as they started to expand, they would actually make the chili in the restaurant here, and then they would put it in the back of Charlie's station wagon and drive it to the next location.
Oh,
Again,
wow.
talk about consistency, right? Because that was the only way they knew that the chili would be consistent from location to location.
Wow.
Did they?
You know,
Oh, go ahead, Kat. No, go
we
ahead.
have so many questions about this. I just have to know about the chili.
Please, go ahead.
It's a well-kept secret, and everybody tries to replicate it. And everyone has theories, right? That there's mayonnaise in it or peanut butter.
This is the real reason you're on the podcast, Kevin. It's not even a real podcast. This is all a hoax. We just want to know.
We're not even recording it.
What is the secret to Zippy's chili? Can you tell us?
You know what I mean, right? I mean, it's kind of a myth, right? Like, what's in the Zippy's chili?
Is it peanut butter?
But isn't what makes it that good, though? Is there's that whole mythology around it. What is it?
Tell us.
I'll tell you this much. I don't know. I don't know. They don't. God forbid they give it to the marketing guy. Like, give a secret recipe to the marketing guy. Number one. Number two. I can tell you this much. I guarantee you it's not mayonnaise, and I guarantee you it's not peanut butter.
Okay. Oh, wow.
All you need to do is, we also sell them frozen, right? The frozen packs. All you need to do is take that box, look on the side. We're required by the USDA to list all the ingredients. Take a look.
I don't know. I feel like you guys are sneaking something by, because no chili is as good as Zippy's chili.
It's like creamy, like it has that creamy texture. I don't know, man. I still think it's mayonnaise.
We had a chili cook-off last year in our office, and they were all really good, but I would have taken Zippy's chili over all of them. And I want to know why. I want to know what it is. Do you guys have you guys, like, when you guys have a really staple, like a recipe, like the Terry beef plate, for example, do you guys futz with it at all? Or is it to kind of oh, you guys do?
That's a great question. Generally, overall, we try not to. But when, we take customer feedback very, very seriously. And sometimes something as small as we changed the beef provider for the Terry beef could have thrown the entire recipe off. And so our customers write into us and tell us, hey, it's too salty now, or it's too fatty, or whatever it is. And so we have to go back and decompose, because maybe that beef vendor business or no longer makes that cut. And so now you have to adjust the recipe for this new cut or this new vendor. And so we do make recipe adjustments, but only to ensure its consistency with what you know.
Interesting. So, speaking of changing vendors, Zippy's a while back had decided to really support local agriculture. And I don't know if a lot of customers, or especially our listeners or viewers, know about this, but the company is really committed to using and supporting local farmers and ranchers. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's really remarkable for a local chain restaurant to do that.
I think farm to table is the thing people like to talk about nowadays. But for Charlie and Francis, that was just the way they did business. They didn't even conceive of any other way that they could make their food that consistently, that fresh, with the highest quality, without buying local. So here's a great example. Every month or so, we turn on about 100 tons of chili. Okay?
Oh my God, a month?
A month, yeah. So, some of that goes into retail pack for frozen, gets shipped off to your local neighborhood store, frozen section. Some of it definitely goes into our stores, right? 100 tons of chili, that includes things like tomato sauce and other things. Of that, about 18,000 tons of beef are used.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So of the 100 tons, 18 tons, my bad, 18 tons is beef, ground beef. Depending on what week you're talking about half of that is locally sourced ground beef.
Wow,
To the best of our knowledge, we are the largest single non-governmental purchaser of whole Hawaiʻi ground beef.
Oh, wow.
So you can get 9,000 pounds of ground beef, 9 tons, my bad. I can't do math today.
It's okay.
It's late in the afternoon here, and I haven't had enough of my soda, I think. So 9 tons of that is more or less coming from locally sourced coffee. And that was not, something that they ever thought of like they needed to talk about. And so when I came here, I'm like, why aren't you not talking about this?
Yeah.
This is a huge deal to most local people. Let's talk about our eggs. 100% of the eggs that Zippys uses is locally grown from Eggs Hawaii.
Wow.
And this is not just your eggs for their local mocha and omelets. You're talking about for all of our cakes and pies as well. All the baked goods that comes out of the Forward's Bakery. Why? Because for the founders and for the people who work here now, it's just the way things were done. And this goes back to a different day and time in Hawaii, right? When you did business, why? Because that's the way you do business, and there's a lot of handshake deals. A lot of I know your family, you know my family, and so therefore we're going to do business together. We're going to help each other out. And this is something that you see less and less of in Hawaii today, but Zippys is still has that kind of old school business feel.
That's incredible. I mean, I feel like, we talk a lot about farm to table, and there's certain restaurants that specialize in it, and but no one thinks about like Zippy's being a big chain restaurant that, you guys are really supporting local ag in that way.
You think that local, like farm to table has to be a chef lovingly placing ingredients like an edible flower with freezer on top of it. Why? Why can't we all just eat as a matter of course like this, right? And so if you can do it while feeding your soul, you're also helping the farmer, you're helping the local rancher, you're helping us really in Hawaii having a deeper sense of food security overall. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say this, we're too big in Hawaii right now to be 100% self-sufficient in terms of food. It's just almost impossible given the size of our population and the land base that we have. However, how much can we push that out? And you can do that, and we talk a lot about local ag and investing in things like farmers and the land. Those are all super important. We can't forget the other side of that equation, which is the demand, right? You can make all the product you want on one end, but if you don't have people buying it on the other, it falls flat. And so Zippy's is a good matter, of course. Whenever we decide to buy something, just given the size of our company, we're creating So as the good example, and unfortunately for many different reasons, we no longer have this, but we had locally grown greens for all of our salads. Come on, who comes to Zippy's to eat a salad?
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever had a salad at Zippy's.
But when we decided to buy only locally grown greens, the vendor that we went to had to buy new equipment, get new land, hire new people to bring them in to do that. And that's what's important. For whatever different reasons, we're no longer able to buy from them. But that's what Zippy's means. How do we create, and that's not just Zippy's, let me take that back. These are all restaurants and food service companies in Hawaii. How can we all commit to buying more local to create the markets in the economy to support the local farmer and rancher?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Zippy's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kat.
No, Kevin. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Well, I was just going to talk about. I was going to pivot because I wanted to talk about the most popular menu items at Zippy's and things that maybe are kind of unsung heroes on the menu. And so before I do that though, I want to know what is your go-to dish at Zippy's right now? My
go-to dish, it's a bit of a secret menu item. It's not really a secret. It's I like the Zippy's chili, like the large bowl, but then I don't get rice. I just get it all beans or all chili with the crackers because I'm really just there for the chili. And then you get the crackers, and that's enough starch to you crumble it in there. Oh, and then I ask for extra crackers too. So you get extra crackers, you can crumble it in there. I like it more. The white rice, it's half. I just want all chili all the time. All chili all the time. Kat, what's your favorite dish?
Okay, so my go-to, I normally always get a zip pack, and then I'll swap out the fish for extra terry beef. But my son likes the fish, so I keep it. But I always get chili cheese fries, no bean chili. And then once in a while, I'll, no, I guess that might be it. Chili cheese fries, no bean chili is probably my go-to. I was just trying to think that sometimes I order other things, but the Simon, I always order the Simon. But in COVID, I don't want to really order Simon to go. So I think my go-to has been, Chili cheese fries, no beef chili.
I think Kevin Yim probably has the most important answer. Someone who, have you tried everything on the menu, Kevin?
I have not. I'm still working my way through the menu. It's that big.
It's huge.
So, you know, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, like, what's your go-to? And then let's talk about like some of the most popular, and then some of the like unsung heroes of the Zippy's menu.
So first, I'll tell you my go-to, and it's probably a nature of my age. You know, there's this meme out there right now that's just whatever you order, your favorite order at Zippy's, you can tell somebody's age. And so I'm solidly Gen X, so mine is chili chicken mixed plate.
Oh yeah.
No bean, some tossed foil and mac. So.
Oh.
There you go.
I like
wow,
that.
a lot of no bean. The beans really make the chili for me. I'm really surprised by this. As for extra beans, if I can get it.
I'm a no bean kind of girl.
Interesting.
Anyway.
To get back to the other question about what are the most popular items at Zippy's, they're probably exactly what you think they are. The number one item at Zippy's is probably the
Chili.
Simon?
Zip Pack.
Zip Pack. Oh, Zip
the
Pack.
Zip Pack.
Yeah.
And recently, during COVID, we actually introduced the Zip Pack Deluxe.
I know, with the chili on the side. That is so bomb. I freaking love that thing.
It went from like nothing to being the number 2 or 3 item on the menu.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Right behind the Zip Pack itself. So just which version of the Zip Pack do you want?
Yeah.
Basically?
One with chili or without chili is kind of the question. Man, that's awesome. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's all man. You gotta try it.
I gotta try it.
Korean fried chicken is amongst the top 5, along with our spaghetti and meat sauce.
Oh.
The meat sauce, by the way, also uses the same quantity of local beef. So
I don't think I've ever had the spaghetti. Zippy spaghetti. Are there any sleeper hits out on the menu that not a lot of people order, but you think is super good?
So
chili burrito.
There's a lot of people who like came after us pretty hard when we took up the chili burrito during COVID.
Really?
That was a good one. That's why, especially like at 2 a.m. I just, you know how you go to Jack in the Box to get the tacos because they're cheap, but like the chili burrito kind of put it all together for you. One nice greasy package. It was so good.
It's back in the menu now, so you know,
oh.
you can get it anytime you want.
All right, chili burrito. Yeah, I had no idea.
I think one of the most overlooked sets of dishes on our menu, and it's available every Friday, is our Hawaiian food. Believe it or not, and this is coming from the proud Kamehameha Schools graduate, the Hawaiian food at Zippy's is pretty darn good.
Really?
Like what?
Yeah.
Like what kind?
Lau, kalua, long rice.
Oh.
Comes in poi and mac, but hey, I mean rice and mac, no poi. But one day, hopefully, I'm hoping to change that. And I some poi, maybe to give with the lau and kalua pig.
Oh wow. Man, I'm learning a lot about Zippy's. I had no idea there was a Hawaiian food on Fridays. I feel like when you go to Zippy's, sometimes you get so caught up in just like, this is what I order at Zippy's. I don't change this. It's a place where you go up to the counter and you're not even thinking. You're just saying what you get.
Good. Their sweet sour spare rib special is also very good, and their fried salmon is also good. I forgot to add those.
These are hot recommendations. If this is, what about visitors coming to Hawaii? What would you recommend that they get? Maybe someone who has not had a lot of local food before. Like, what is like the one dish that you're like, you need?
Saimin.
Is it saimin? I wouldn't say saimin. I would say like a local moko or something.
Nobody else in the world serves saimin. That's why. I think
Yeah, that is a good point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you want to learn more about Simon, you can go to zippys.com and look at Simon Says. We did a whole video series with Chef Mark Aguchi about Simon. Kat, you're right. It is very unique to Hawaii. So definitely Simon. It is a very simple dish. I think it's not ramen. Like ramen is like crazy, complicated to make and super rich and everything. Simon is its polar opposite cousin. It's very simple. It's more heartwarming than anything else. So, but if you're coming in, the other dish I would probably recommend for those who are just visiting the islands is really the Zip Pack. Not only because it's the number one selling item on our menu, but it's also very representative of Hawaii and our food culture generally on one plate, right? So rice at the bottom of that, which is like the staple for so many cultures that in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Topped with furikake, which is Japanese seaweed, so that comes from Japan. We've got the terry beef from ostensibly Japan, right? Teriyaki. Fried chicken from America, spam from America, and fried fish, which, you know, if we could, we'd probably do a nice piece of ahi, but that would just skyrocket the price of this. But that's representative of Hawaii, right? The fish and the islands that we're on. And so all inside this one pack, this bento box, which is representative of the state. So you've got all these different ethnicities together harmoniously in one little container. So,
oh, wow. You are the vice president of marketing for Zippys.
Is the VP.
That was, you know, it's interesting too that you bring up how, like, you know, the Zip Pack is so, and I think Zippys is really representative of the state of Hawaii. But you guys are expanding out of the state to Las Vegas. How is that going?
well, thanks for asking, Kevin.
Of course, Kevin.
COVID threw a beautiful wrench into the middle of that one, but I will tell you that is the number one question that I get every single day, wherever I go, on social media. Every single post, the very first post on social media afterwards is, when are you opening in Vegas? So we answer it so much. Hopefully we'll put it to rest. We are committed to opening in Vegas. We were about ready to break ground 1 year ago when COVID hit. And like all restaurants, we needed to really contract and make sure that we could survive and take care of the stores and our employees that are here in Hawaii first. But we had already bought the land, so you can go to zippys.com/Las Vegas and you can see where it's supposed to be. And so we're committed. We have the land. It's just a matter of when is the best time post-COVID to be able to restart that. And we're still answering that question, honestly.
Because that is going to blow up. And you know what's the irony is people who are visiting Vegas from Hawaii are going to eat there even though they can eat it at home. You know what they're going to do that, right? That's the part that just cracks me up. They're going to do it.
People go to the cow and we'll eat the oxtail soup at the cow.
It makes no sense, but that's what we do. What are you going to do?
We'll take
Yeah. I did have a question about Napoleon's Bakery because you mentioned it when you were talking about the eggs. You know, I think people forget that they're part of the same company, right? So, do you know why it's called Napoleon's Bakery? And also, like, can we talk about how awesome Napoleon's Bakery is for just a little? Because I do love Napoleon Bakery. But why is it called Napoleon's Bakery? Like, why not call it like Kalakawa's Bakery or something?
Zippy's Bakery.
You know, it's fun. Or Zippy's Bakery, exactly.
Oh,
so,
yeah, or that.
So there's a long story behind it. Suffice it to say that the idea behind Napoleon's Bakery was to ensure that people understood it was more a European-style bakery. So Jan Sukazaki is a baker that still works for us, who basically started the Napoleon's Bakery line. She still works for us today.
Wow.
She's credited as being the inventor of the apple knuckle, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, Jan's a master baker. She learned how to bake European style. Now, neither of you are old enough like me to remember back in the day, and when she told me this, I'm like, oh my God, you're right. Back in the day when you went to the local bakeries, cakes only came in squares. It never came in a round. And the square cake is a very American concept, whereas round cakes were very European. And so she made certain that all the cakes were made round to connote its higher perceived value.
Oh, interesting.
And so the name Napoleon's was chosen to represent that. Now, mind you, it was supposed to be the corollary Josephine's Coffee or Cafe. Napoleon and Josephine, right?
What happened to that?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, they never got off the ground with the cafe concept. They ran out of space and didn't know how to work it in. And Napoleon's was such a big hit that they didn't feel as if they needed to open the cafe component of it.
Wow, I have learned something new. So what is the bestseller? I mean, the Apple Napple obviously is their bestseller, but they've got some some hits, right? Like the peach bavarian. Like
I've never eaten at Napoleon Bakery.
Are you kidding me, Kevin?
I know. It's terrible.
Right there. It's like
I don't know what to say for myself.
Zippy's, a slice of cake or pie.
It's because after I'm done eating at Zippy's, I feel so stuffed already. It's like.
What's the next day? Take it home for another meal.
That's true. So what should I get though? I mean, what is like What do you think is the Apple Napple? I've heard a million and a half times.
Yeah, the apple napple, for those of you who don't know, an apple napple is basically it's an apple turnover, but done in puff pastry instead of your standard pie dough.
Oh.
So you've got many different layers of, buttery, sugary goodness in addition to the apple interior of it. It's crunchy, gets all over the place, gets all over your mouth. It's fantastic. So that's the number one thing you should probably get at Napoleon's. But then I'd say go and order a slice or a whole cake if you want. Chantilly cake or chocolate dovash cake. Those are kind of the two mainstays of the cake family at Napoleon's. And the thing, if you are not from Hawaii and you look at our chantilly cake, you're like, that's not chantilly cake. What we call chantilly cake is probably more like a German chocolate cake where they come from.
Right.
And then dovash cake, one of my favorite comments I ever got, like a customer feedback form, is when they ordered the chocolate dovash cake and said the cake was too soft and they didn't like the pudding on top of the cake. Well, that's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's a soft chocolate pudding cake.
Exactly. So, it worked.
That's so
You
interesting.
guys try the Fentilly, but just a second note. When I was dating my husband, I remember one time, this is before I really knew what a piggy was, but he had said, oh, I want to get chantilly cake, like after we were eating or something. So I'm like, okay. So we drove down to Zippy's. He ordered the whole cake, and he opened the box with a fork and ate it.
That's called living.
Yeah, I married him. You have to. Who does that?
Your husband
It's amazing.
he's like a supersized man too.
Oh, he is. He's very large human.
Yeah,
anyway, that was just a side note.
He's a big kid. That's why Landon is so big.
Oh, this is true.
The
so
chantilly.
what is coming up new with Zippy's? And what can people expect or keep an eye out for? Anything?
We're always coming out with new things probably every other week. So every 2 weeks there's going to be a new menu item. What I encourage you to do is come on in, take a look at the daily specials menu, and you'll see that there's probably something there you've never seen before. In the meantime, take a look at the Zippys app. You can download that at your Apple Store or Google Play Store and see what the specials are on the app as well. We have a lot of things in the works depending upon when you're watching this. We have what we're calling us chicken coming up. So it's our famous fried chicken plate, but done super spicy. That's coming up. We are doing something more interesting with Hawaiian food sometime soon.
Oh.
Stay tuned for that one. In addition to that, we're also going backwards and really looking at the roots of the plate lunch and finding ways to kind of harken back to the even days older than Zippy's with a good old Okazia bento pack.
Oh wow, you just spoke cat's language.
What's happening? Yes, I'm in. So if people want to find out more, they can follow Zippy's on all the different social media channels, right?
Yep. You can
email you directly.
Check our show notes. Everything he just mentioned, the app, all that kind of stuff, that'll be in our show notes on the website. So if you're watching this on Facebook or listening to it, visit hawaiimagazine.com and find our show notes for all that information. Shoot. Kat, you want to end the cast?
I think we need part 2.
We do need part 2.
Yeah, we do. And then we should all have our favorite Zippy's meals and eat it while we're on.
That'll sound fantastic on the microphones. Just a lot of smacking lips.
Who cares, Kevin?
I do. I have to listen to it. I have to edit the podcast.
Who cares? It's your job. Anyway, Kevin, the other Kevin, thank you so much for being part of our Hawaii Have Aloha We'll Travel podcast. It was awesome. I learned so many interesting new things about Zippy's.
I know.
It just makes me really happy. And now I want to go to Zippy's and get, my Zip Pack Deluxe. And anyway, if you guys are listening or following us on Facebook, please subscribe to please subscribe to our podcast, rate and rank us, leave a comment. Also, if you are, wherever you are, like us on every social media channel. Please communicate with us. If you guys have an idea or a guest that you want us to have on the show, let Kevin know. The other Kevin.
That's me.
That's his job.
If you want Kevin Yin back on the podcast, you got to let us know. If you want a part 2 Zippy's, part 2, You got to send us some
I feel
emails.
like, especially when you're gonna open like the Vegas one, you got to come back and talk about it. That's crazy. Super excited. But anyway, thanks everybody for listening, and thanks Kevin for being on our show, and thanks the other Kevin for nothing. And we will see you guys all later.
Bye. Aloha.